Hey, what is guys, RichHomieQuinn here, and in this video, I'm going to be explaining our 3 wins during the Trio Cash Cup where we actually ended up getting 4th. We ended up getting 4 wins in the row, as you can tell by the match history. One with 16 kills, 7 kills, and 11 kills. We also have some other good placements to go with it, but I'm just going to emphasize our end games of the 3 wins that we had. So hopefully you guys can, apply it to your FNCS or Trio Cash Cup gameplay. We're going to hop right on and do it with the first game. Let's get it. Alrighty, so hopping into the first game where we ended up getting a 16 kill win here. Hopping right into half and half out zone. Zone actually pulls completely around the other side of the map here. So as an IGL, I'm sort of trying to plan out my rotation already. I see this team rotating in front of us. I make a call not to shoot at them, because if I end up shooting at this team that is rotating and sort of already building for us, they would maybe stop the rotation and not continue to rotate. So if these guys are not building a path already, then you should be shooting at them just so they start forming a path. End up stop building here, and then Dylan punishes them straight away with a nice snipe. I'm using wood to rotate this first zone too. Another important factor, making sure that you use wood sooner than later, because the more hard mats you have in the end game, the better. Dylan hits another snipe. Again, when I'm rotating this, I'm also marking different positions. So I marked that there was a team up here. I could have followed these guys to here, but I already saw that there was 2 teams there. So I decided to go for a little bit better positioning and just make my own tarp, since we already saved a lot of mats. So now zone pulls towards us. Zone pulls like this, when it pulls through the old builds, I sort of realized like, oh, we just rotated from this way, so there's going to be a bunch of old builds that we are going to be able to use. Whoever is fragging in the trio, I asked them to drop me mats, because they're not going to be the one tarping. Dylan is sort of the person in the trio that takes over the tarp if needed whenever I get beamed or the sand dying. So making sure that you take your fraggers mats. One important thing when I'm building here is I'm actually not building a wall behind me. Right here, I am building a tarp where I'm calling out to Dylan and Juicy that I'm not building right side walls. So that's where they're going to be looking for. They're going to be looking for some frags. And shout out to RichHomie Zippy for putting RichHomie in his name. But yeah, since I am on the right side of zone instead of the left side, or instead of like the middle, I'm able to save my mats by not needing a wall there. Because of the positioning, we get put in a really good spot. Zone pull is instantly moving. I get an elevation change here because I think I'm sort of hoping for a high ground play. So I go up a couple boxes right here. The only scary thing about me doing this is that there was a bunch of people that were bouncing towards this direction, so making sure that I full box and just allow other people to sort of build and do their own thing. But notice how I put myself on the opposite side of zone, right? Everyone is basically started on this side when the zone pops, right? So this is going to be the clustered side. I end up putting myself into a position where I get onto this far side, so there's going to be very, very little teams over here. I don't get punished at all for it. We end up actually having a guy that runs into me, I'm pretty sure, here. And knowing my great mechanics, I get a full box. So here I see this guy coming through. Usually when this happens too, a lot of people are soloed out if they're bouncing over here or whatnot. So end up getting the full box. Wall gets taken behind me. Hit my edit. But again, I'm using this this edge zone rotate. So I go for an elevation change. Whenever you get stuck on zone, I see a lot of people not know what to do, right? So the best thing to do is, what works for me is I usually elevate. So as you can see, we were put onto a layer that was like right here, right? So if we wanted to continue our rotate, we would have been forced into, multiple teams. So instead, I changed the elevation, so then I'm on a layer where there's no one in front of me. Let's go see what Dylan's POV was in this whole situation. So Dylan is getting pretty good at looking for high ground. Me and Juicy are going for the impact. He's just sort of going for information. So sees a guy on height. He ends up missing his snipe, but getting the beam onto high ground and instantly goes for it. Because throughout this whole end game, I'm sort of, telling my teammates to look for high ground. Not the prettiest height take. Honestly, might be good that Dylan fell, because me and Juicy were a little bit lagging behind. But we end up getting it. Really good pickups here. As you can see, Dylan does have 6 floppers, so there is that. And that is basically the rest of the game. We have a guy with 6 floppers. We have good mats. He's just going to play ulti, while both me and Juicy drop down and try to frag out or whatnot. Whenever you're on high ground, you always want to make sure that you're shooting your gun. If you're not shooting your gun while you're on high ground, then it's obviously a huge misplay. It goes through a lot of old builds here, so it's kind of difficult to get frags when it goes through old builds. So making sure that you don't force it and drop down early into other people's edits, something that's huge. Absolute beam on the boy Marty there. So now we're just claiming early, trying to look for double edits on people below. Juicy ends up getting a kill. I end up getting his feet. Dylan gets the kill from above. And that is our 16 kill win to start it off. But yeah, we're going to be hopping into the next game to sort of see how that one went. So this was basically just staying ahead of zone, making sure that you put yourself on the dead side, rotate, and then sort of setting yourself up with the mid ground. And so if you do end up seeing height weak or you get a knock on height, then you can take it and then win the game. All right, so hopping into the second game. This is our lowest kill win, but nonetheless still win. We ended up getting half and half out zone here, pretty center pull. So very contrary to the last game where it was really far. A lot of beams are going to be coming through, but unfortunately no eliminations. Perhaps we got to look a little bit better when it comes to holds and focus the same skin. As you can see, a lot of people on this other island are very stuck. We should have got at least one kill here. So right here, the whole purpose of going for beams and stuff like this is to, one, look for an impact, and two, look for people to sort of, or try to force others to set up away from you, right? So not allow people to be comfortable near your boxes and set up above you or around you. Like for a double spray here. Obviously, probably not the best to play, but I didn't know if it was a trio or whatnot. Right here, I'm getting a lot of information through my stairs. Got myself ahead a little bit. So I'm planning out a bouncer here. I just don't know where I want to bounce it towards. So a lot of people set up on the right side on top of other builds. So I end up going for this bouncer. I mark for my teammates where I want to land. I instantly box up. We still have a couple more bouncers to use too. So I end up going for a stair rotate, right? So in this stair rotate, I try to save mats by not building floors. Was kind of afraid someone could maybe shoot my toes, so I ended up building some floors eventually. But again, very early rotate, allowing Dylan and Juicy stay back at the top, look for a little impact. But making sure that you guys stay together on first move and rotate is usually the play. So I end up going for an elevation change because I see that there could be a little bit of an issue here if zone ends up pulling towards the direction. So I stay low ground, save mats, and then I go for an elevation change right before we get in zone here. Zone ends up pulling back, right? So Dylan and Juicy are like, oh, it goes through the old tarp. Let's just drop down to the old tarp. Well, it won't go through a whole tarp the whole way, right? So if you want to look at the map over here, our tarp is red, right? And zone is going to be pulling towards blue. So yeah, we will be able to recycle our tarp, but then there's going to be a time and point where we're going to be going through other people's builds and other people are going to have this idea, right? So whenever zone pulls through old builds, the best opportunity that I usually see is to go for a layer change, right? So instead of going through this big chunky bottom area where there's going to be a bunch of old builds in zone right here that are not going to be yours, you want to go for an elevation change so you're sort of like on this layer and there's not too many builds that you have to break through and have to worry about other people being in. I'm calling out right here that these floors are not mine, and I'm calling that metal builds are mine. So yeah, I get ahead here, and again, so I probably would have been stuck on the ground here versus myself getting a better layer change. You know, look how pretty hectic this area is, right? Versus my area up here, you know, very uncontested. We're not second height. Height's currently getting griefed, which is going to be important when it comes to the end game. And we're you know, not going to be the first one's targeted. It's going to be this wood team. So good layer, really good layer. Another reason why I did this elevation change is because I also sort of thought that it had the opportunity to pull on top of this hill, right? So let's say it does pull on top of this hill. I would have had a very easy path, while everyone at the very bottom here would have a lot of builds and elevations to go through. I'm pretty sure Dylan ends up calling out that they're getting grief for height. So I end up going for a layer change. Not the best layer change because I was sort of tunnel visioned on one person and I sort of got a wall and thought I was clicks or something. Try to go for an impact. But fortunately enough, Dylan and Juicy were staying on top of me this whole end game. So they're able to 1v3 this guy. Fun fact, I end up throwing a splash here on the wood builds to put out the fire. So then we can then edit the builds and not be on fire. So I end up getting tagged right here, and this is what's really important in a trio, is having someone that can take over and lead. So Juicy ends up taking over and leading with his mats while I'm trying to get some big pots off and heal up myself. He sees the guy hit a bouncer, right? He's like, what are these guys doing? He sees elite ammo, jump, hit a bouncer right here. So this basically shows that the high ground team is low on mats and Dylan only saw 2 people, so he recognizes that and calls out that height is free, right? Me and the boy Juicy are honestly pretty late to go up. He bounces from that direction, I bounce from the other side just to sort of save mats and also sort of catch off our opponent. His bouncer is way cleaner than mine. He gets height. I end up dying here. Not gonna show how I die. Pretty embarrassing, but Juicy gets the trade. Dylan gets the game end for the mats. Very, very important in this situation. As you can tell, Juicy only has 3 builds. Yeah, this is another textbook play. Juicy has the 2 floppers, so he's going to be playing high ground. Dylan's going to be going for beams. So they're playing pretty close together. I would do the same. End up dropping down. Juicy drops down a little bit too low, in my opinion. But Dylan's just staying in zone, making sure that he doesn't take storm damage. Drops down, looks for an angle here, and ends up getting the final kills. And they end up winning that game as a duo. So GG's to both Juicy and Dylan for clutching that out. Again, just making sure that you're on a good layer and whatnot, setting yourself up for high ground is basically what I do, versus, you know, sort of psycho and high ground half and half out, because that usually gets yourself in a sticky situation and you might die 14th versus sort of my play style where I'm sort of aiming for the top 5, and then if we do get in a good position, then we usually end up winning the game. So, yep, we're going to be hopping into the 3rd and final endgame that we won. Alrighty, so hopping into our 3rd game where we got to win in a row. So I'm trying to figure out this rotate. So I see these guys rotate, and we're going to be recycling the rotate again. So it's sort of similar to the first game. We saw other people building for us, so we didn't really need to shoot at these guys. So those guys are already chilling. So we're gonna be able to recycle their builds. One important thing is that when you're sort of going towards someone's, you know, recycled tarp, you don't really want to set up on top of them, right? Like, it could have got really clustered. They're probably on the very edge of circle. So I end up deciding to go to the left a little bit, getting a little bit better layer, and we end up getting situated right here. I end up seeing a down body right here for whatever reason, and I have that beautiful harpoon. That's going to get put into use. I end up missing a bunch of the mats, though, unfortunately. Team tries to play for the loot. So it's very, very important. So if you guys have a harpoon on your team, don't tarp out to the loot. There's usually no reason, and there's usually another team going for it, especially if you're not the team that got the kill, right? So we didn't get that down body kill, so obviously another team's going to be knowing where the down body's at, so they're going to be looking for it, right? So just being aware and not tunnel visioning on loot is really important there. We have pretty good loot as it is. And we end up getting the team punished that I was actually tunnel visioning themselves. So we get a full trio wipe based on that team not knowing how to get loot. So I sort of like to use the storm as a wall. So here I am. And notice how I'm not continually going straight right here. I'm going to the left, to the left, to the left. Because it is how the circle's sort of expanding here. And sort of just show you guys my perspective of why I did this layer change, right? So a pretty good map knowledge. Get in through here. Get in through here. I see in front of me. Bam, there's a hill in front of me. So, but instead of waiting till I get to the hill, right? See, there's a hill right here. Instead of waiting to get to the hill and then going up, I go up earlier so I don't have to, you know, be in a situation where I can get blocked off. Very, very important to look ahead. So here I start going up. I see this team above me. So this is the biggest threat right here. Not the cleanest play of me right there. Just trying to reverse the ramp. So again, like I said, the circle's expanding to the left. I end up hitting some side jumps, and now I'm above that team that was about to be blocking me off. And we're going to be on top of the hill. Almost get shot out right here. But really good turbo by my teammate to help me out. Alright, so next zone pops, right? So here we go again. Right, so zone pops. And when it pops, it pulls straight to here. Instead of myself saying, oh, I'm going to tarp towards where zone's at, I'm going to put myself on the dead side over here, and then I'm going to be able to bouncer. So I place a floor above me when I hit this bouncer, because if I don't, then I send myself upward, and the bouncer can also get shut out, and is also more focused when it's like that. So when I'm bouncing, I'm calling what I'm landing on. I'm landing on the brick, full boxing, and then I'm going to bouncer again. So again, my teammate, really good regroup. We sort of wait, allow zone to move, and then I go for another bouncer. When I build this bouncer, when I place this bouncer, I make sure to overbuild. So one, the bouncer doesn't get shut out, and two, my teammates don't get beamed when hitting it. I could have maybe placed it onto this side, but I wanted to catch myself above a team over here. Again, I land right here. I full box. And then I continue my rotate where I don't have to build on my left side because I'm on sort of like the dead side. We're getting shot from height. So this is the biggest threat. You don't want to be too dead, right? So you want teams to sort of be near you. But let's say like we were all the way over here. We would have been hard looked at. But since we are sort of close to the cluster of people that they don't have, you know, full-on spray out vision, they sort of are blocked by other people's builds. And we're not the biggest threat. I sort of set us up on mid-ground, but not second heights. Zone ends up pulling back. So because zone ends up pulling back, I don't have to focus on rotate. It can focus on getting some kills. I look for some harpoon loot, down body. Not game ended yet, so I can't get that. Right here, I call out. I can play heal off. I have 4 floppers. I get 4 splashes dropped to me by my teammate. I see some loot here and a botched harpoon, but again, have really good mats, doesn't matter. So Dylan calls out that we're getting pressured from above. I see no one building below us this whole time when I'm tarping, so I decided to drop below, right? So instead of having a team that's trying to take above us, I end up dropping down here, and so then we have a team below us. It's so much easier to worry about a team when they're below you than when they're above you, because they can sort of go for far cone placements and get it early, versus when it's lower, it's sort of more difficult to get that far cone placement. So right here, it's all a time thing, right? So there's 27 seconds right here, right? And each flopper gives 40 health, right? So 4 floppers, 40 health. That's going to be 16 seconds with the splashes, which is 4 or 2 health for 4, which is going to be 8. So I can outlast Storm for 24 seconds. So I'm looking down here and I'm trying to get like a 10-second lead, honestly. So I have 8, 16, and then 10 for raw HP, and that's going to be my total of 34. So I have 34 seconds. I can live in Storm if I wanted to Storm right now. So right now I'm just trying to milk the Storm out so then I can win that heal off. So I'm assuming high ground has 100 HP and has a flopper or 2. So we're just milking it down. So instead of myself, you know, playing in the circle or not and allowing the worst to happen, I go into zone 10 seconds early. So when I'm going into zone, I'm making sure that I'm boxed up. No one can really flank me, and I have a right-hand side peek to look for information, to look for beams so I can get a siphon kill or whatnot. So I'm just popping floppers. Again, 4 flops, 4 chug splashes. Hard to beat. We have Kaz, who waited to go at the very middle. He had 1 flopper, 4 chug splashes. My Dylan and Juicy actually frag out and get like 3 kills low ground while I'm just healing off. Kaz, pretty sure he thought he was going to win with that much HP, but nope. I beat him with probably like 60 HP, so it was kind of close, but you know, no competition when you have that many heals. So that's how we ended up winning our last game. A little bit more boring, but you know, very, very intense still. So yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you guys do want to see more videos like these where I sort of go into replays and explain it more, make sure to drop a like, comment what you want to see next, and if you're not already subscribed, put post notifications on. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.